So, as many people have probably heard, legendary rapper, female rapper known as Dabrat, her real name is, of course, Ashante Harris, is expecting her first child, of course, via IVF. I think she just recently turned 49 years old. And she is, of course, with a woman. I forgot. I think the woman's name is Judy something. But this story has kind of gone viral, how Dabrat and her wife have they faced a lot of backlash because they did not choose a black sperm donor. And she recently did an interview on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show explaining as to why her and her wife were not able to choose a black sperm donor, mainly because the options were just so limited. I'm actually okay with the fact that black men are not donating to the sperm bank like other races of men are. That's another story for another video. But this has been a ongoing problem for black lesbian couples who want to get pregnant the other way versus being with a man, which is the natural way, as we all know. And I'll let you go ahead and hear the clip from Dabrat and Ricky Smiley Morning Show.
But the IVF process, I don't know if some of y'all caught Brat Loves Judy or not, but if you missed it, the IVF process is a difficult process. It consisted of so much medication. I had to give my wife shots in her stomach to prepare for egg retrieval, constant pills and hormones and different things that she had to take to get a successful egg extraction. Because what we were doing, we were mixing her egg with the donor's egg, and then putting it in my body for me to be the carrier. And I would be the oven to grow the egg or whatever and have the baby. Well, after a successful extraction, days later, she found it hard to breathe, and we ended up having to go to the emergency room. And they ended up keeping her, which was shocking to us. And she ended up with blood clots in her lungs, which then caused her to be hospitalized. And then they kept her longer, and they were trying to handle that. But then she ended up with an enlarged heart. So all of this was very scary. She ended up calling her kids, telling them she loved them. She didn't tell them in depth what was going on, but I knew that was like, if something happens to me, right. I love y'all. So anyway, next we had to select the sperm donor. Now, there were people said, why didn't y'all use somebody y'all know? We didn't want to do that. We didn't want anything weird. We didn't want to use anybody we knew. We wanted to go to a sperm donor. So we had like 3 or 4 sperm donor cryo banks that were very reputable from our doctors. And we have amazing doctors, Dr. A, Dr. Jackie, and Dr. Kim Lipscomb. And Dr. Collier, of course. And the cryo banks, there were thousands of donors. Thousands. We never thought we would have any issues choosing a black donor. So we both knew we were looking for black donors. There wasn't no questions about that, no doubt. We wanted a black kid. We didn't think of anything else, right? So my wife had to do a genetic test to see what diseases ran in her bloodline. These are tests that you have to do because your donor cannot have the same diseases or traits in the bloodline, because that can make your child end up having these diseases. So my wife had like 4 or 5 different things in her bloodline that could not mix with the donor, because, we didn't want the child to possibly end up carrying a disease, because we just want a healthy baby to love and just nourish, nurture and take care of. Anyway, this narrowed our options down to a couple of hundred with one black donor.
So that clip right there, she went through she explained the process about the egg retrieval and getting a viable egg to implant inside of Dabrat's body, because I think her woman is a little bit younger than her, so her eggs must have been a little bit more viable. As we all know, when females get older, I think after 35, a woman's fertility starts to drastically decline, and when you get into your 40s as a woman, it's just much more difficult. That's just the way God made the woman's body. Having children is something that women are supposed to do earlier than later. It's just better for her. And regardless of their relationship, the girl on girl relationship, it's still a pregnancy that we're dealing with, and there are always going to be a risk of complications when you do it after the age of 40. Even some women have difficult pregnancies in their 20s and 30s, even when they're at peak fertility. It just depends on the woman's body and how her body handles the pregnancy. So pregnancy is a very, very serious situation for any woman at any given time, and it's also a place where a woman can even lose her life delivering children. So I'm glad that the mother, her partner Judy's okay. I don't wish nothing bad on them. I don't agree with what they're doing at all, but I'm glad that they're okay. During that clip, Dabrat talked about not being able to find a black sperm donor except for one out of like 200. And there's one more clip I'm going to play where she talked about basically the fact that this guy didn't look the way they wanted him to look, and they couldn't find that much medical history about this guy because, you know, in the sperm bank, they oftentimes have profiles of who the sperm came from, the medical history of the donor, to make sure that his sperm is not going to bring forth any, medical issues such as maybe diabetes runs in his family, maybe sickle cell trait. You know, it's all kind of medical abnormalities that people carry with them, just depending on the person. Some people are just naturally super healthy. Some people not so much. It just depends. But here's the clip.
Okay, one black donor, one. Man. And yes, I cracked a joke on our show that he looked like Jiminy Cricket, and I was not having that. But also, we went back through each sperm bank to see if this is really all we had. And it was one choice, and the one choice was not what I wanted to choose. Plus, his profile, his portfolio was very limited. Like, they give you so many different things, and you can pay more and more money to dig deep and go back in their family tree and all this stuff. So we wanted to investigate, and it was very limited, so we couldn't do that. And we waited as long as we could with hopes that more black donors would pop up, and they didn't. Now we're on a time frame, so that didn't happen. Now, our only options, y'all, were Asian and Caucasian. We thoroughly investigated both options. We spoke to family members. We prayed. We talked to our doctors. We did everything we could before deciding. And of course, no one wants their child to have to endure anything extra, like any extra issues to have to explain their race. Because, you know, my best friend Mariah, she's biracial. I know a lot of people that are biracial, and they go through getting teased like, are you black or are you white? Nobody wants their child to get bullied or any of that stuff. So, but we're going to do what we have to do because we want a healthy child, and we're going to teach our baby everything. We have beautiful people around us, like older people like Ricky. We got you. We got, her parents. We have people to help.
So yeah, that was Dabrat again explaining the process and why they had to pick a white sperm donor because the options for the black sperm donors were just so limited. And as I stated earlier, I am very pleased that we as black men are not following white men and Asian men and just freely giving our sperm to sperm banks because that's our seed. I mean, it's one thing that women want to be together, two men want to be together. That's their business. I'm not God. I'm not going to judge them. They know what the consequences are to that lifestyle. When you meet your maker, that's between them and God. But it's a double abomination because now you're bringing children into a situation where they are not going to be able to know what it's like to have a mother and a father. There's a reason why it takes a sperm and an egg and male body parts mixing with female body parts to make children. It takes a man and woman to make a baby, therefore it takes a man and woman to raise a baby. Even though you got single mothers, you got gay adoption, etc., etc., that does not mean that it's okay. That does not mean that it's right. I'm just here to tell the truth. And then she talked about the child being mixed because they had to get a white sperm donor because there was plenty of options for white sperm donors. So you're going to have a child with two moms, and then the child's going to be biracial. Okay? A man deposits something inside of a child that a woman cannot deposit inside of a child. A woman deposits something inside of a child that a man cannot deposit inside of a child. We give the children two different things. We give them masculine energy. The woman gives them feminine energy. Men teach little girls what a real man is. Women teach little boys what a good woman is. You know, it's kind of like yin and yang. It just goes together like that. And I think the majority of black people that have followed Dabrat's career over the years, we always knew Dabrat was tomboyish. She always dressed, you know, kind of like a dude. We never seen her in no real long-term relationship with a dude. I'm pretty sure she may have had some relations with men in the past. That's her business. I don't know all the details with her sex life. That's none of my business. That's not what I'm here to talk about. But Dabrat being into women, that's something I think a lot of us already knew. And she's a very talented rapper. Like I said, she's a legendary rapper. She was a better rapper than 90-something% of all rappers that came after her. I think the best rapper of this generation that we in right now overall is going to be Nicki Minaj, just lyrically. I think Nicki Minaj is the best of this era. It ain't Cardi B, it ain't the City Girls, it ain't Meg Thee Stallion, it ain't none of them. What's the girl, Lotto? Ain't none of them. They all the same. They just thought rappers. But Dabrat, she didn't really rap about how wet her coochie was, or how she set dudes up and get money from dudes and all this. She wasn't twerking in none of her videos, none of that. Matter of fact, the only nasty female rapper you had back in the day that was, you know, notable was Lil' Kim. She started the whole thought rap, you know, genre. But other than that, most female rappers, her, MC Lyte, Queen Latifah, they weren't thought rappers like this generation of rappers. But that's another conversation for another video. So I just wanted to say that, man, Dabrat and her female partner, the Judy chick, I think the Judy woman already has kids. The IVF is already a stressful process. So even if it was a man that Dabrat was doing this with, it could have been a little bit stressful. But Dabrat's body is too old to produce viable eggs, but her uterus can still hold the baby. So the egg was retrieved from Judy, and I think they mixed it with a donor egg. I don't know how all that works, but Dabrat is basically carrying a baby inside of her that has none of her DNA. The only connection Dabrat gonna have to that child is the fact that she carried that child inside of her womb. A woman's womb can carry babies for a while, even after she has a significant decline in fertility, but that don't mean that her eggs are viable. That's why you have what's called donor eggs when they do these IVFs. So it's just a real crazy situation. A lot of people that are in same-sex relationships are victims of some type of sexual abuse, some type of molestation. I don't know all the details surrounding everybody's lifestyle that lives that lifestyle. They passed or whatever, but the data is very clear. Some people turn to homosexuality when they get molested or are sexually assaulted, you know, and like I said, that's another conversation for another day, but it's just an unnatural lifestyle, and what they're doing is an unnatural process. And if you go on Ricky Smiley's video and look at the comment section, there's so many black women praising this and supporting this. This is not nothing to be praised and supported. This is not something that should be celebrated. And I encourage my fellow brothers to be very, very protective over our seed. I want more black men and black women to have kids and raise them together like we're supposed to. We do have a family crisis in black society. This is not a real family, what Dabrat and her partner are doing. This is not the way God intended it to be. It's just not. It is what it is. But that's the end of the video. I don't want to ramble on too long. I just wanted to say that this is another, I guess you could say, addition to the degeneracy that we see in our community. This is not going to make the black community any better. Another child being born to two moms. We already have a deficit of black children being raised by a mother and father, a black mother and a black father. We know that black kids have a black mother and black father, but oftentimes the father is not around. In this process right here, they're not even trying to include a father. They basically saying we don't need no man. We can do it ourselves. We're going to both provide this baby feminine energy. Even though Dabrat got that tomboy sort of masculine energy, she's still not a man. She's still a woman. She still bleed every month. She still got two tatas hanging from her chest. She was born with XY chromosome. I'm sorry, a woman is XX. She was born with XX chromosomes. A woman can never duplicate a man. You cannot. Just like we can't duplicate a woman. A trans woman ain't no real woman. A trans man ain't no real man. It's one or the other. But I appreciate y'all watching. I'm gone.